A lot of laughter today. It was good. Gratitude day 22, closing in on 31 days. Grateful for something here that I've had for a while, but just stumbled on again recently. Trying to find a book I wanted to read or reread, and going through a box of books that I have. I haven't kept a ton of books. I used to keep a lot more, but they seemed better to be passed on than kind of sit with me. And if I'm really dying to read one, I could probably always buy it again or download it on Audible or Kindle or whatever. But I was grateful for this book. It's called When Times Seem Dark, and it's by a fellow, Alex Thomas. He has a couple different books. It's a collection of poems, and really interesting guy. I met him through CrossFit, and he shared this with me. And it's really just about, I don't know, short poems about mental health and experiences we have when we're at different periods, highs and lows of our mental health. And I always liked the topic of, we spend all this time with this physical health, making our bodies better. There's some carryover of that practice of physical well-being toward the mental well-being aspect. There's a book I read, Emotional First Aid, a while ago. The author's name was Guy Winch. And he's talked about this analogy of if you get a small cut, you wash your hands, you clean it. Maybe you put some antiseptic on it. Maybe you put a Band-Aid on it. Basically, the point is, because it is physical, tangible, visible, very easy for us to address and take care of. But sometimes even a smaller cut, if you don't get infected or just takes a long time to heal, annoying, whatever. And the author of this book, Emotional First Aid, makes this analogy to mental, emotional well-being. And for me personally, when I've heard that approach to it, I liked, I so much more appreciated the improvement of mental, emotional health, however you want to approach that. But when I thought of it in this term of what do we do when one of those gets injured? And I feel like a lot of the times, because mental, emotional health, it's not tangible, it's not visible, and it really can become quickly a game of death by 1,000 cuts. But anyway, different topic for a different time. But stumbled on this book that I've had for a while, collection of poems by Alex Thomas. He's got a couple on Amazon, and it's a collection of poems narrating mental health, how we struggle through them, and he was interested in the connection of mental health, physical health. But I'm not going to read a poem to you guys, but I just liked page 1, "You're not alone." That's what it says in there. Anyway, check it out. I thought it was really cool. That's what I'm grateful for today, is stumbling on that book. Really neat read, and it was just a nice memory. Somebody sharing something impactful, meaningful to them, having a really cool connection with somebody that you've known for all of X minutes, which was always one of my favorite parts about doing CrossFit seminar staff. And I had shared this with so many seminars, and I meant it every single time, is as far as we traveled away from our homes to put on those seminars, to be there for seminars, I never felt like I was away from home. And that was a pretty special thing. And I miss that like crazy. But what I want to talk about today, we got the gratitude down. One of the things I want to talk about was losing. And obviously Super Bowl Sunday, watching the Super Bowl. I kind of stopped watching after the first half. And, maybe they had I'm looking at the score, they had a little comeback, but the Eagles basically pounded the Chiefs. Both really good teams. And I don't follow sports a ton, as you already know. But what it made me think about was just learning the lesson of losing. I remember growing up watching some sports teams, seeing the adults get so fired up over things, and not knowing why, but the team that I wanted to win wouldn't win, and I would just cry, as a little kid. This was actually yesterday. No. And it just made me think about how important it is to understand the process of losing. And hats off to any parents who teach this well to their kids. Because I'm sure as a parent, you see your kid get upset, you want to make it all right. Oh, it's okay. That kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's so important to learn the skill of losing. Because it's going to happen. And, There are different levels of lose. Not everything is like a game, 40-22, you lost. There are just a lot of things in your life that just don't go the way you expect them to, don't go your way. Didn't get the response you wanted after the presentation, or had a workout that didn't go your way, had an idea you pitched and it was a flop, had a real nice gesture you wanted to make for a significant other and it panned out differently than you thought. There's going to be so much of that throughout your life, and I don't know how you learn how to lose. And what I'm not saying, of course, is, how do you want to learn how to go out and not win? What I'm saying is you go out and you learn, what the hell do you do when you lose? And how do you view loss? And how do you adjust to it? That's what the Super Bowl made me think of today. It's just, and that's like a massive loss, right? You've come out this huge season. The Chiefs have had like an extraordinary run over the last couple of years. And there's, immense amount. Talk about not reading the comments, like just a overbearing amount of pressure to perform from everybody in the world. And just looking at the spectacle of something like the Super Bowl, man, to lose that and walk off that field and watch all that celebration going on, that green and white confetti coming down, all the hats, all the Chiefs hats getting shipped off to who knows where or burnt up in an incinerator. I don't know what they do with them. But, and then to come back next year and they'll still probably be a good franchise next year and want to win 10 times as much. But, I was just thinking a lot about that today. Another thing that made me think about it was I found saw an Instagram post. It was funny. So doing a little scroll tonight after it was clear that the football game was going to be a little less than interesting. And I was just showing Cassandra my Instagram algorithm, and it was funny because after probably about 3 or 4 reels, one of them depicting what a, Monster energy drink tastes like, and the video was just of battle and touchdowns and things exploding and people skydiving. It's probably around the 3rd or 4th one of those where she looked at me and she said, I want to look at my algorithm now because yours is kind of aggressive. But anyway, I saw it. I tend to like it. It actually levels me out. Then I saw a video of a young lady, maybe Chance said something like world champion or something, champion barrel racing on a horse. Holy shit. If you don't know what that is or have never seen that like I have, that's absolutely incredible. Anyway, I saw this Instagram post and it said on it, how lucky I am to be terrible at something new. And for those people out there who can relate to that feeling and who chase that feeling, you're probably doing all right in life. And for those people out there who know somebody like that, but you are not like that, spend some more time with them. Because it is, so life just gets so much boring when you feel like you've, I've talked about this a ton, beaten the game, but it bears reminding. As we discussed yesterday, I just love that phrase, how lucky I am to be terrible at something new. Learning new skills, going back to that, that beginner's mindset, back to square one. It doesn't even have to be anything complicated. The Instagram picture has a guy, looks like a guy playing a saxophone. And, it could be like, I don't know, practicing writing with a different hand. Maybe learning a couple different words, a couple new words in a different language. Trying to write a small poem every day for a couple days. Maybe it's building something in your house, building something for your family, learning how to cook a new meal. There's so much joy about being a novice, because the nice thing about being a novice is you can act like a novice, which means it's, you kind of got a carte blanche to really fuck it up. And there's a lot of safety in that. I've talked about this with new coaches for a long time in CrossFit, and they struggle with, how do I get better at X, Y, and Z, and blah, 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 blah. And one of the things I try and remind them, a big thing we do in CrossFit is you warm up and you learn the barbell lifts with a PVC or a wooden dowel. And I always try to tell coaches that the nice thing about the PVC, especially if you're just getting into this and an athlete's just getting into this, like unless an athlete takes that thing and stabs another athlete in the eyeball with it, you can screw it up bad and it's okay and nobody will probably know. There's just so much, there's so much luxury in being a beginner. The only expectation likely comes from yourself. And so you can lean into that, push yourself as hard or as little as you want to. And the other reason I say I think it's good to try and practice that regularly is it is a skill. You have to learn how to be somebody like that, unless you already are. But many of us are not. We try something new, fail once, and we're like, woo, I'm out of here. And then we go back to all the things we feel relatively competent at. But yeah, I loved that for today. How lucky I am to be terrible at something new. More tomorrow.